Hello, everybody, and welcome to the special web edition of John Redmann, Power of Attorney. Our guest today is attorney Claude Lightfoot, and we are talking about bankruptcy. Claude, it's great to have you here to talk about this really big topic. And if you could please start for us with what are just some of the common reasons that people file for bankruptcy?
The thing that I see that brings it on most often is the temporary loss of a job. Usually it's a couple. Not always, but usually a couple. Both are working, sometimes more than one job, and it's just amazing what kind of problems can develop when just a little bit of income is lost due to a layoff or an injury on the job or some other job separation, looking for a better job and a new job. And this reduction of maybe as little as a quarter of the income can mean all the debts can't get paid, and then there's a snowball effect after that.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, you know, this is a serious thing to do, and we were just chit-chatting about this, and you said that you really try to get that over to people when they come to you. Don't take this lightly.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
It's going to be with you. It's a permanent decision that you're making.
And they don't take it lightly for the most part, because by the time they get to me, the lawyer, they have had so much pressure from creditors that they are coming out of their skin. They don't know what to do. They're afraid they're going to lose everything. They're afraid their wages are going to get garnished. They're afraid that they won't even be able to pay for the things they still can pay for. They are petrified, and they just need help.
They've been terrorized by these many unscrupulous creditors. In fact, we're going to do a show about this topic about unfair debt collection practices, but they overlap with this topic, and people are terrorized by these creditors, and they're told things often that are not true, and so they come to you, and it's a huge decision. And so there's a bit of shame there and a bit of fear about what's going to happen next. Right?
Absolutely, and the first thing that I'll ask is, well, what have they been telling you when they've gotten you on the phone? And usually it's, I'm going to take your house, I'm going to seize your car, I'm going to garnish your bank account, I'm going to garnish your pay. And I stop and say, well, wait a minute, have you been served with a lawsuit? And then I explain the process that this starts with a lawsuit to which you fail to respond. Then there's a default judgment, and then finally they could do those things, but they can't do those things over the phone.
Yeah.
I want to just tip my hat to a national consumer advocate and financial guru guy named Dave Ramsey. Many people have heard of him. He cracks me up. He says these debt collectors are scum. I tend to agree. I've seen so many people mistreated. You know, these are nice people who they don't know their rights under the law, and you got creditors who are just really sticking it to them financially, and sometimes charging illegal interest rates. But it's nice when they finally get to see you or someone like you. They learn a lot better what their real rights are.
They do. And you know, many a time I will have someone whose debts are really not out of control that bad. They just, they could manage it without a bankruptcy, and I'm very happy to send them to one of the best places that I've found over the years was Consumer Credit Counseling Service. It's a nonprofit local. Right. And they really are good if the kinds of debts to be managed are credit card debts. They're excellent at trying to put together a program that reduces or eradicates interest, lowers monthly payments, a plan that people can live with. And I've found them to be diametrically opposed to the many charlatans who are apparently in this business on the internet.
There's commercials we see nonstop.
There are lots of commercials out there, and that's what we want to caution people about. Consumer Credit Counseling Service is a great organization, but be very careful about those others out there, because there are quite a few that do advertise that they can help you with your credit.
Yeah, and to be clear, this is an option short of filing bankruptcy. A lot of times people, they're paying outrageous interest rates, they're paying penalties, they're paying a lot of times more than they really are supposed to under the law. And these credit agencies, and again, there's one that we put the website address on the screen, maybe we can put it on there. That's one go-to source. But I recommend you research your rights, talk to consumer advocacy lawyers. We're going to do a show more about this. Come back to my website in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll have the show on the website about dealing with unscrupulous, unfair debt collection practicing.
Before we let you go, we've got to talk about who qualifies.
Eligibility is the big change from these 2005 reforms that Congress put into place. They took effect just months after Hurricane Katrina. They were delayed a little bit here, but now we have them. And there's an income sensitivity, call it an income litmus test, to qualify for Chapter 7.
Okay.
And in Chapter 7, as in both 13 and 7, a means test is employed, and it's a measure of the gross income to the household for the 6 months prior to the bankruptcy. And those totals are then divided by 6 to come up with a monthly average figure, annualized, simply multiplied by 12, and compared to the median income for the household size in our state, Louisiana. For example, for one person, it's approximately $37,000 now, and it is adjusted periodically, but it was $39,000, came down to $37,000. For 2 people, it's $47,000, and so on, up the ladder. If someone is below those target median income levels based on that 6-month average, they will be eligible for Chapter 7 automatically.
Okay, all right. So, and want to be clear, it's for 6 months.
It's a 6-month look back.
It's a 6-month look back.
And,
Okay.
and I know we're really short on time, but I think this is an important question, and I see it a lot in my business. People who have had some sort of a claim, maybe it's a car accident, or maybe they have the right to file a lawsuit and claim money from somebody else. Even if they've not made a decision whether or not to follow through in filing a lawsuit, that's something the bankruptcy attorney needs to know.
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked that. That comes up for me daily. It's not whether a lawsuit was filed that makes it includable in the list of assets when a person files bankruptcy of any chapter, but it's whether the event took place. For example, if the lottery ticket that was the big kahuna was bought the day before the bankruptcy, didn't know you were the winner yet, it was next week's lottery pulling, that lottery ticket belonged to the bankruptcy trustee to administer for the creditors. On the other hand, if the ticket were purchased the day after the bankruptcy filing, it would belong to the debtor. Same thing with a car wreck claim. If there was an accident, the other person was at fault, or even if there's any doubt whatsoever, if that accident occurred before the bankruptcy, that potential claim should be listed in the bankruptcy, or the person filing bankruptcy will never own it. If the trustee is not in full disclosure about that, then it will never come out of that bankruptcy case back to the debtor.
And just to add on to that, a cautionary tale, because a lot of times I represent people, and we don't wrap up the accounting in a case without having that individual initial on the bottom line that they have not entered in to file the bankruptcy claim during the pendency or while the lawsuit was going on, from the time our firm began representing them to the time we concluded the matter. And if they say, well, I did have to file bankruptcy, then that's a big red flag, and why didn't you let us know, for goodness sakes? And then we have to go deal with the trustee, who in fact owns the rights, and see if the trustee wants to go forward with the settlement that we thought we had.
In my 13 years as a trustee, I wish more had implemented your procedure, John.
Well, we try and fly right, straighten up and fly right.
Before we let you go, you were talking about the eligibility requirements, but we have a question, or had a question from a viewer from our show that we didn't get a chance to get to, and it says, what options do I have if my bankruptcy case is rejected?
Well, there are times when the U.S. trustee, which is part of the Justice Department that oversees eligibility, and this is different than the Chapter 7 trustee, who's the liquidator. The U.S. trustee's office divides up all the cases and reviews them. And there may be a Chapter 7 case where they contest the eligibility. And if eligibility looks like it is not going to be there after all, notwithstanding the best efforts of the lawyer and of the client who wishes to be in bankruptcy, then you would have to consider converting the case to Chapter 13, just changing over to the allowed chapter. That would be one solution.
Okay, and that does happen.
It does.
Okay, all right then. Any final thoughts before we let you go on just some important things that our viewers need to know out there?
Well, I think that the most important thing is to realize that you're not alone when facing debt problems. And there's no shame involved in protecting your family by trying to get help, whether it be from a legitimate credit consolidating or credit debt assistance company like CCCS, or getting a consultation, which is by and large free, from our local bankruptcy bar to determine what your options are. Don't be ashamed, and know that there's help out there for you.
Yeah. Okay.
You have plenty of rights. You have plenty of more discretion to deal with the situation than you might realize. And there are excellent lawyers out there, such as Mr. Lightfoot, who can help you with that, as well as these credit agencies. And I would say avoid those ones on TV who have those cheesy commercials.
Good advice, John.
Yeah, and we thank you, Claude, for being here with us.
Thank you.
Another
I enjoyed
excellent
Thanks
web
so
segment.
much.
Thank you.
And thank you. We'll see you next time.